Hello nitrotypers, and welcome back to the slightly unhinged second channel where we will be over-analyzing time travel in nitrotype, which has been confirmed in the newest news post, which if you're watching this in the future is the Back to School 2022 news post. In this news post it goes into detail about how every item in this season has been grabbed throughout time by the Wampus. Even the Wampus altered some of those things, such as the Mona Lisa becoming the Mona Wampus. That's right, in canon, the Wampus somehow managed to replace the model that was used for the Mona Lisa, which I find very cryptic. What happened to the original model? Did the Wampus just kill the previous model and took their place in the Wampus picture? That's my headcanon. But besides that, as you can see, there's a ton of cool items in this season which were grabbed from all over time. With that crazy intro out of the way, let's get into time travel. Now, it's pretty obvious that this time machine is very similar, if not very similar, is the canonical version of the time machine used in H.G. Wells' book called The Time Machine, which was later adapted into a movie in the year 1960. The original book released in like 1895 or something like that, I do believe. However, in that book it is clearly stated that the time machine travels through time and not through space. Thus far, from this information, considering this time machine is clearly a version of that time machine, if not, again, the same version, that means that the Wampus time traveled into the past, went to Egypt to pick up a Sphinx, went to, I don't know, wherever the heck dinosaurs lived in, like in the Cretaceous or whatever dinosaur period there was. They had to go visit all the periods. So from this information, we do know that the Wampus is only traveling through time and not through space. Just ignore the fact that that means because of planetary rotations and orbits and things like that, they would normally be teleporting into the void of space. But with that aside, we can assume that maybe they're just teleporting to the same place on Earth, right? I mean, technically there's even an Earth sticker. If this was really obtained through time travel, really the only explanation is Brainiac, the DC supervillain, is real. They shrunk Earth, the Wampus went in the future, grabbed it from them. I'm assuming the Wampus successfully defeated the Brainiac and came back with a miniature version of Earth, only to roll it behind their car. I don't know. They also found Champus's wild ride through their time travel adventures, which is also very confusing. I'm wondering where they found them. However, we do know that the Wampus didn't pick up the Champus before the Wampus World season, because in the news post we can clearly go over here and see that if we go over to the Champus little section right here, it says that the Champus agreed to ride the racer again, or give the racer a ride again. Meaning that if we picked up the Champus from before the Wampus World season, it wouldn't be giving them a ride again, it would be giving them a ride for the first time. So we at least know that the Wampus picked up the Champus at some point in the last 2 years, or at some point after or during the Wampus World season. You thought I wasn't actually gonna really analyze nitrotype time travel? Well, you're wrong. I'm totally actually doing this. Also, the fact that this time machine only travels through time and not through space is actually backed up by this line in the news post right here, saying that you can't just time travel straight to the finish line. Now, this actually can lead to two different explanations, one of which is, again, the time machine only travels through time. So if they time traveled into the future till when they had finished the race, they literally only time traveled into the future and they're still at the starting line, right? It only travels through time and not actually any distance. However, it could also be supporting fixed time, where you can't change the future and you can't change the past, and that everything that has ever happened during your time travel has always happened. So quite possibly by trying to time travel to the finish line, you're not actually racing, and so thus far, because you're trying to time travel to the finish line, you're not actually racing, so you can't time travel to the finish line because you never got there because you were trying to time travel. It could be that reason, or it could just be the reason that this time machine, if it really is identical to the one in the H.G. Wells book, I mean, excluding the few design changes it has, if it really did have the same function, then that would mean that maybe it's just traveling to the starting line instead of to the finish line, because it only travels through time instead of space. However, for people really thinking that it would be fixed time, and I would be like, oh yeah, I really hope nitrotype has fixed time and they it doesn't mess up the time-space continuum. We obviously know this is true because the Wampus already changed the past. As we know, in the season, there's literally a sticker of the Wampus's face on the Mona Lisa, meaning the Wampus did indeed travel back and change the past. So fixed time is obviously not an option for our nitrotype time travel canon lore, which does debunk what I just mentioned earlier as one of the possible reasons for why they couldn't time travel to the finish line. In conclusion, with all the information we have just gathered, we know that the nitrotype universe exists in unfixed time. I mean, you can go change the past, change the future, and all of that fancy stuff. We also know that when the Wampus picked up the Chompus, they picked them up at some point after the Wampus World season or during the Wampus World season, because again, if they picked them up before that, they wouldn't be giving them a ride again, they would be giving them a ride for the first time. We also know, based on the assumption that they couldn't make it to the finish line because it only travels through time and not space, that the Wampus must have not only traveled through time, but also explored the world on some sort of world tour to pick up all these different items from different locations around the globe, which honestly I wouldn't be surprised considering the Wampus have been proven to be very, very wealthy if you go and try and buy money on nitrotype. It says this is all you buying cash from the Wampus, so it's pretty obvious that the Wampus could probably afford a world tour along with $1 billion time machine. Also, if you want to assume that every item in this season was picked up through time travel, then again, the offline dino, I guess this was picked up from, some point in the last, I don't know how long the Google Chrome dinosaur game has existed, but at some point in the last 10, 20 years, I think it's the last 10 years probably. So we assume that the Wampus time traveled to some point in the last 10 years to pick up this sticker, if we do assume they were time traveling during it. We also know they time traveled to the Roman period, or probably the Roman period, to pick up a chariot. And we also know they probably time traveled into the future to pick up these drones, because in the news post right here, when describing this drone chariot car, they actually do say that it's a mix of the past and the future. I'm trying to find it right here. Yeah, it says it's a mix of the past and the future. So if you think the Wampus was just traveling throughout history or things that have already happened, you'd be wrong, because apparently these drones are from the future. Even though we have drones in today's time period, I guess they also time traveled into the future to pick up these drones and mix them together to create this beautiful amalgamation. Also, again, assuming that everything was picked up during time travel, at some point in the future, or I guess in some point in the lost past, there's flying clocks in the nitrotype universe. Nice. And we also know at some point, probably in the future, the Wampus picked up a miniature version of the globe. Again, my headcanon, they either defeated Brainiac after they shrink the Earth, or the Wampus did the shrinking themselves. Also, another thing, did they just steal the moon? Is this a whole astronaut on the moon that they stole through time travel? Again, assuming that everything was picked up during time travel? What? I mean, I guess maybe they picked up a sticker about the moon from the past or from the future or something like that. In my opinion, I think the Wampus stole the moon. Gru would be proud. And yeah, that's my over-analysis of time travel in nitrotype. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!